Tonight, reporters rushed to the Rose Garden, the unexpected moment at the White House. President Trump, after saying, "I'm not going to take the blame," is asked whether some Republicans should go. About his response to Puerto Rico, will he fire Robert Mueller? And touching a nerve, saying President Obama did not call the families of the fallen. Also tonight, the massive rig explosion just off New Orleans. Authorities moments ago on the search and rescue. The deadly fires in California, and tonight a staggering number, more than 100 missing. And the couple married 55 years, trying to survive in the pool, the wife dying in her husband's arms. Former Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl pleading guilty today, and tonight the interview. Why he says he should not be called a traitor. What the NYPD and Scotland Yard are now saying tonight about Harvey Weinstein and the passenger jet that plunged more than 20,000 feet.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to start another week with you. And the president started the week with an impromptu press conference, summoning reporters to the Rose Garden today with little notice. After weeks of blistering attacks against Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he was suddenly standing right there with the president. The president saying we're closer than ever before. And then the president took questions on Puerto Rico, the special counsel on Russia, and what he said about former presidents not calling families when they lost loved ones at war. 3 former presidents and their teams now reacting tonight. We begin here with ABC's chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
After repeatedly lashing out at him, President Trump held a hastily arranged press conference with Mitch McConnell in the Rose Garden today to declare their relationship outstanding.
We've been friends for a long time. We are probably now, despite what we read, we're probably now, I think, at least as far as I'm concerned, closer than ever before.
That's a change in tone for the president, whose former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, has declared war on McConnell.
Yeah, Mitch, the donors are not happy. They've all left you. We've cut your oxygen off, Mitch.
Mr. President, do you approve of Steve Bannon's war on Mitch McConnell and the Republican establishment?
Well, Steve is very committed. He's a friend of mine, and he's very committed to getting things passed. I have great relationships with actually many senators, but in particular with most Republican senators. But we're not getting the job done. And I'm not going to blame myself, I'll be honest. They are not getting the job done.
I asked the president about Bannon's vow to take on nearly every Republican senator up for re-election.
And are you okay with Bannon campaigning against Republicans running for re-election?
I know how he feels. Depends on who you're talking about. There are some Republicans, frankly, that should be ashamed of themselves. Well, I can understand fully how Steve Bannon feels.
But in the Rose Garden, McConnell fired back at Bannon's plans to promote hardline conservatives.
You have to nominate people who can actually win, because winners make policy and losers go home.
And standing by McConnell, the president said he'd talk to Bannon.
Steve is doing what Steve thinks is the right thing. Some of the people that he may be looking at, I'm going to see if we talk him out of that, because frankly, they're great people.
The president took questions for about 40 minutes on a wide range of subjects, including Puerto Rico.
We have massive amounts of water. We have massive amounts of food, but they have to distribute the food. And they have to do this. They have to distribute the food to the people of the island. So what we've done is we now actually have military distributing food, something that's really they shouldn't have to be doing.
And on the investigation into Russian meddling and possible collusion, the president signaled he won't pull the plug on the special prosecutor.
Are you considering firing Robert Mueller?
No, not at all.
John Karl with us live from the White House tonight. And John, something else the president said today, getting a lot of attention at this hour. He said that unlike some of his predecessors, he actually calls the families of fallen troops. Here's what the president said.
So the traditional way, if you look at President Obama and other presidents, most of them didn't make calls. A lot of them didn't make calls. I like to call when it's appropriate, when I think I'm able to do it. They have made the ultimate sacrifice. So generally, I would say that I like to call.
So, John, tonight, 3 former presidents' teams are responding now?
All 3 of the last 3 presidents have said that the president went too far in what he said today. An aide to President Clinton said that President Clinton did place calls to the fallen. A spokesperson for George W. Bush said President Bush wrote all the families of the fallen and called or met privately with hundreds, if not thousands. As for President Obama, a spokesperson for him said that President Obama engaged the families of the fallen and wounded warriors throughout his presidency through calls, letters, visits to Section 60 at Arlington, visits to Walter Reed, visits to Dover, and regular meetings with Gold Star families at the White House and across the country. The spokesperson for President Obama, David, said that the President Trump's words today were unequivocally wrong.
John Carl leading us off tonight at the White House. Thank you, John. We turn next here to the massive rig explosion near New Orleans. People on land said it felt like a bomb was dropped. Workers jumping into the water. They had to be rescued, but there is still a search underway tonight. That rig in Lake Pontchartrain, authorities talking just a short time ago before the cameras. And here's ABC's Steve Osunsami from the scene tonight.
Rescue teams from the U.S. Coast Guard have helicopters in the air and boats in the water tonight, rushing to find the missing oil rig worker who disappeared after this explosion right outside New Orleans.
Platform on fire in the lake.
What caused the oil rig to blow late Sunday is still a mystery this evening.
It's still popping and flaming away.
Families on the shores of Lake Pontchartrain are 1.5 miles away and say it still felt like someone dropped a bomb.
We were just sitting in my house and the whole entire house shook. The whole house lit up with a big orange flash.
7 people who jumped from the rig in the dark had to be pulled from the water. 5 were seriously hurt.
They had very severe burns on them. They're going to be in a lot of trouble for a long period of time.
Authorities are identifying the missing worker tonight, 44-year-old Timothy Morrison from Katy, Texas. They've already searched 90 square miles, and at 82 degrees, the water is warm, so they're hopeful.
And Steve Osunsami with us live tonight from New Orleans. And Steve, authorities also telling you that they haven't seen any oil leaking from the rig yet?
That's right, David. No reports of any oil sheen, and we can see this for ourselves. This is Lake Pontchartrain. There's the oil rig in the distance. We've seen no oil wash up upon this shore. Residents actually get their drinking water from the Mississippi River and not the lake, but they're still testing the lake tonight just in case. David.
Right. Steve Osunsami, our thanks to you as well. And now to California, and a harrowing number tonight, more than a week now after the deadly wildfires began. More than 100 people are still missing tonight. Flames still spreading through the hills of Napa County, and there are new stories tonight of heartbreak. The couple married 55 years trying to survive the fire in the pool. The wife then dying in her husband's arms. ABC's Clayton Sandell is in Santa Rosa.
The staggering death toll from California's wildfires added one more today when a water tanker driver was killed in a crash.
Traffic medical for a possible water tender rollover.
The first firefighting death in a week-long firestorm.
This is day 8 for these fires to be raging through Napa and Sonoma counties, and fatigue is definitely a factor.
The blazes have already killed 40 other people. Carmen Bariz and her husband Armando jumped into a swimming pool last week trying to survive the intense heat and smoke. She died in his arms.
No one should have to live through that violent fury. It's just remarkable what my father has endured.
Tonight, as firefighters battle fatigue, there is progress, but flames are still spreading in hard-to-reach areas.
These water-dropping helicopters are critical to the firefighting effort because the terrain here is so steep, these narrow canyons, it's hard for firefighters to get in, and you can see from all this smoke, there's a long way to go.
Those devil winds that created hell on earth are gone for now.
We're gonna die, dude. We gotta get out of here.
But firefighters are still on high alert.
This fire is still very capable of turning on us, so we just need to keep a good eye on it, stay vigilant, and keep working just as hard as we have been.
Many residents with homes still standing can now go back. Some reunited with furry survivors.
Oh, thank you.
The pets they were forced to leave behind.
Izzy, come here, baby.
Great scene to see. Clayton with us live from Santa Rosa. And Clayton, a number you pointed out to us late today, 700 people still in shelters there?
That's right, David, and many of those people will have nothing to come back to. I want to show you the arbitrary nature of the damage here. If you look in this direction, it's just destruction as far as the eye can see. But take a look over here. The other side of this very same street, all the houses completely untouched. David.
All right, Clayton Sandell for us tonight. Clayton, thank you. Here in New York City tonight, a verdict in the bombing in the Chelsea neighborhood of Manhattan. Ahmed Khan Rahimi, convicted on all 8 counts for planting 2 pressure cooker bombs on the street last September, one of them exploding, injuring 30 people. Jurors were shown videos of Rahimi walking through a crowded Penn Station here in New York with those bombs in his bags. Prosecutors say he was inspired by ISIS and al-Qaeda. The charges carry a mandatory punishment now of life in prison. Next tonight here to the interview, Army Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl pleading guilty before a military judge today. We all remember that moment after years of captivity held by the Taliban, squinting at the sight of the sun. Tonight, in an ABC News exclusive, Bergdahl before the camera for the first time, why he says he should not be called a traitor. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross, tonight.
Appearing before a military judge today, Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl pleaded guilty to deserting his platoon, walking off his base in Afghanistan and into the hands of the Taliban.
My name is Bowe Bergdahl.
Bergdahl was held by the Taliban for 5 years, released in this dramatic moment, squinting into the sun after years as a prisoner. U.S. Special Forces hustled him to a waiting helicopter to begin the journey home. In his first television interview with British filmmaker Sean Langan, Bergdahl says he was held in a cage for most of his captivity as punishment for trying to escape.
It's a cage that was welded together. It's about 7 foot long by about 6 foot wide.
And how long were you in that cage for?
Second, third, fourth, and into the 5th year.
The U.S. released 5 Taliban prisoners to gain his freedom, and the homecoming celebration for Bergdahl was short-lived. Bergdahl was attacked for risking the lives of fellow soldiers who went searching for him, 2 of them seriously wounded.
He's a traitor, a no-good traitor, who should have been executed.
Bergdahl says a fair trial would have been impossible, given the words of Donald Trump.
We may as well go back to kangaroo courts and lynch mobs that got what they wanted. The people who are to the point of saying, yeah, just shoot them, you can never convince those people to change their minds. And
it hurts, though.
It does hurt.
In court today, Bergdahl acknowledged he broke the law by leaving the base, saying, I understand I endangered the safety of my platoon. At a hearing next week, he could face up to life in prison.
And Brian back with us again tonight. And Bowe Bergdahl insists, Brian, that he is not a traitor here.
Yes, he does, David, scoffing at reports that he joined the Taliban and had it easy as their prisoner. He maintains he walked off his base to report a commander for incompetence, a belief the military judge has already ruled, David, was unfounded.
Brian Ross with the interview tonight. Brian, thank you. Overseas tonight, the death toll from an horrific bombing in Somalia, climbing above 300 now. 2 truck bombs striking a crowded street in Mogadishu. A father of 3 from Minnesota is among the victims. No claim of responsibility yet, but the Somali government tonight is blaming al-Shabaab. Back here at home this evening, and to movie producer Harvey Weinstein tonight, what the NYPD and Scotland Yard are now saying as Weinstein's own brother breaks his silence, what he now acknowledges. ABC's Lindsay Davis again tonight.
Tonight, Harvey Weinstein is in danger of criminal prosecution. The NYPD says multiple women have come forward with allegations of sexual assault by the movie mogul, and they're looking into those claims. In London, Scotland Yard says they're investigating 5 alleged crimes against Weinstein. Weinstein has denied any allegations of non-consensual sex.
We all make mistakes, second chance, I hope, okay?
In an emotional interview, Weinstein's brother and longtime business partner Bob Weinstein says he knew his brother was a philanderer, but thought the situations were consensual. My brother has caused unconscionable suffering, he told The Hollywood Reporter. I am heartbroken for the women that he has harmed. He added he's seen no remorse from his brother. I have spoken to him 2 times since news broke, hoping to hear, oh my God, what have I done? I didn't hear that. What is being heard tonight? The words, me too. After actress Alyssa Milano tweeted, if you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write me too as a reply to this tweet, so we might give people a sense of the magnitude of the problem.
And Lindsay Davis here with us tonight, and now millions of people have responded to that social media call.
More than 5 million people have responded with Me Too on Facebook and Twitter. Think about it this way, David. That means that more than 45% of people in this country have a Facebook friend who's already replied, Me Too.
Lindsay Davis on this story again tonight. Thank you, Lindsay. Next, the NFL owners meet here in New York City tomorrow, all of them facing lawsuits now from former quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who claims the league and the owners worked together to deny him work. Here's ABC's Ryan Smith.
Tonight, former 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick taking on the NFL, accusing the league and team owners of colluding to keep him sidelined.
Who's brought stripes and bright stars?
The cause, Kaepernick says, his refusal to stand during the national anthem last season as a protest against racial injustice. The grievance alleges teams wanted to sign him only to mysteriously go silent with no explanation. While Kaepernick played 6 seasons for the 49ers and took them to a Super Bowl, some 36 other quarterbacks have been signed since he last played.
Say, get that son of a off the field right now. Out. He's fired.